Hello everyone, this is Jasdeep Singh here, founder and CEO of TransportSimple, here in our free talks. Today we will be discussing in detail and understanding more about the EV industry and how it is evolving in the UAE. For that, with us we have today Jaideep from Raika, and he'll be sharing his experience moving from the Indian market to the UAE market and expanding the EV industry over there. So over to you, Jaideep.
Hi everyone, and thanks for having me, Jasdeep.
Let's start with the first and foremost thing to understand and to know about you. So, can you please quickly give me a brief about your journey and your entire stint in this EV industry?
I've been a part of the EV industry now for roughly about 3.5 years. I started my EV journey back in India. I was based in Bangalore when I joined one of India's largest fleet operator at a time when first and last mile connectivity was a challenge and you didn't have multiple players there. Uh, My journey started with building the first last mile mobility network, closed loop. From there, that's when COVID hit. At any point of time, it's also an opportunity for a lot of businesses. So we realized that goods were moving, people were not moving. We kind of pivoted. We tried out a model where we can start and build a last mile delivery segment. And that was also the boom where the last mile delivery segment itself, with all of these delivery apps coming in, whether it's food, pharma, grocery, picked up in the country. And that's where my second part of the journey started, where I started building it with the delivery entities, built it with the 3PL players, worked with the government, in fact, to bring out a lot of policies. And then I moved into my third stint with the same entity where we started building the infrastructure piece. But for the larger crowd, EV adoption will never increase until and unless we have increased infrastructure, which is accessible and affordable, right? And at that time, which is where we started building the infrastructure, which was primarily for our own fleet, which would then open up to everyone else too. I've moved to UAE. It's been pretty much almost a year. UAE is at a place where, again, we're just starting off into building the EV side of fleet or commercial usage. And it's been a different challenge here. So I would say it's more of a restart for me, where you have fleets which are smaller, pretty much into product market fits. You have the government really taking initiatives to start on the infrastructure side. So this is still on the upward swing, while India was kind of already on the hockey stick curve.
So, before all this, like, why EV? Why did the spark come that, okay, let's join the EV industry? Like, what was your first movement toward the EV industry?
Maybe EV as a factor for the movement was probably the third preference. The first preference was obviously the fact that it was an entity that was building itself. And the second was obviously the opportunity I got to play in that particular growth phase. The third obviously came in at that point of time where it was about moving into the EV industry, which was a sunrise industry at that time, even in India. So I actually, previous to moving to EV, I was in the logistics space. Uh, so I was still more on the ICE side, moving out containers, working with truckers, and then, moving on to an EV side. So like I said, the spark maybe came in once I moved to EV, which is where I understood, yes, being sunrise and then a lot more that we built really got through there. So I wouldn't take the wrong credit on saying that, I really wanted to do something on the EV. But I would say 4 years down the line, yes, now I really want to be in that part of the industry and make that difference.
It's good if you get into any industry and then you start loving your job, you start loving your sector. That also gives you a lot of potential and lots of insight. And then maybe down the line, if you ask the same question 10 years down the line, you'll be happy that you continued in the growing EV industry. So, like you said, EV has evolved in India. And like we all discussed, the major reason people move from ICE engine to EV engine has been because of the major reason the fuel efficiency, the fuel difference, economy, and economy of scale. And that's the major reason. The secondary reason is obviously the environment friendly ecosystem and the subsidy the government is giving. If we talk about the UAE market, the the low cost cannot be the reason. Obviously, the fuel efficiency, the cost of fuel over there is anyways very low compared to Indian market. So what is the reason why the UAE market is moving to the EV? Why are they adapting? Considering the fuel economy is not the reason for moving from ICE to EV.
Like you said, India, a large part of movement is also cost savings moving to EVs, right? But If you look at UAE, how UAE works, right? UAE is generally over the last 25, 30 years been a leader in new technology, been a leader in vision. And I think one of the bigger points, if you just rewind to last, we are positioning ourselves as an economy, and the way the world sees UAE is more about driving newer technology and actually being a leader there, which is where one of the larger drivers of UAE has come in that, listen, we need to move to a cleaner and a sustainable way of uh, living life in general.
So if you talk about that sector, the EV trucking, the heavy duty sector, what do you see are the challenges which are there right now and what the industry will be facing in near future considering the scale of growth?
Like you mentioned, it is really picked up. You've got multiple players that have come in right now, be it the European players, be it the Chinese players who entered this trucking industry on a fleet model. With the EV aspect, an additional step comes in, right? Because you need someone who really operates that, because you generally have a downtime when it comes to charge, and you need someone who really operates the infrastructural part. Correct. So there's an added layer. One challenge that across the board everyone faces is who takes that. Is it the government who comes in and says, I build the charging network? I will ensure that the capex that goes towards charging and building that network comes in, so that an OEM is able to sell, logistics players pick up trucks, start operating them, and already have an infrastructure in place. Or is it going to be, I think the other aspect here is also the fact that though adoption of EV is increasing, but people are a bit worried about what's going to happen maybe 5 years down the line. Maybe when the battery comes to an end of life, what's generally going to be a challenge apart from changing a battery, which is probably 60 to 70% of your capex of the truck itself, right? How is the body of the truck going to really work? What are the other challenges when it comes to repair and maintenance? I think that's the second aspect that everyone looks at. And more on a tactical or operational aspect is, if you look at fleet planning, you generally have to look at how to optimize your fleets, to reduce your dead freights. Now you really need to add another aspect when it comes to EV of how are you going to ensure downtime doesn't affect your, efficiency. You might have fast chargers, but not every time will you be using them, right? So a 4 to 8 hour downcharge. So does it mean that, a fleet of 100 now moves to say 110, so that you can really work around downtime on efficiency? Plus, who covers the additional capex? Because currently EV vehicles are higher in cost. So the OEM is generally going to pass on the cost of fleet operator. Can the fleet operator absorb it? Because eventually logistics companies are saying, okay, we don't want to increase costs. Marginally, yes, but not beyond that. In fact, the consumers are saying, listen, I'm not going to pay a higher for delivery, right? I don't see on a very immediate term where is the impact, right? So it's a whole cycle or a supply chain or a value chain that really needs to adapt and change.
It's so if you summarize it, there are three key aspects which we talked about. So the first is the short-term difficulty which the people will face is that the turnaround time will be increasing if it's a long mile delivery because they'll be charging gap of 4 hours, and also how do you cover up for your time? The second open questions which is there for the logistics industry is that okay, right now the EV is cutting down on the fuel cost. That is great. But what will happen 4 years down the line when you have to change the EV, when you have to change the battery, how the spare parts are going to react, how the things are going to change, and like what will be an open-ended question, which what will be happen after 4 years because no one has seen that cycle right now. So no one has seen what will happen after that 5 years.
The way technology is changing, last year you had, even on the private vehicle side, you had EVs coming out with a range of 200, 250 kilometers on a full charge. This year, you've already had EVs coming out with a range which is double, literally 450. I then eventually end up being better operationally. So yeah, that's how everyone also, kind of expects it to move.
Over there's another open-ended question which is always on a debate that okay, is it a charging versus swapping? So the swapping will cut down to even 2 minutes. Like you can swap it and go, but the
Correct.
swapping has not been a great success as of now. And plus, considering the size and the like the category of batteries is required for heavy duty vehicles, swapping is a question. So maybe 1 year down the like we have a better swapping station, so you just the tag can be reduced by the swapping. So that's also there. And the third biggest thing which you said, which is correct, is be it swapping or be it EV, there has to be infrastructure. So who will build the infrastructure? Will it be the government? Will it be the private players? Or is there an opportunity out there for new companies to come up and build the entire infrastructure for the EV? Which is the biggest question for India, for UAE, and for all the developing regions. So, with all those things said, if we come down to our last question, and what will be the next big thing coming to the EV industry?
I think one over the next couple of years, and I think Europe is leading the way there, you will have EV charging highways. Whether it is an overhead electric wire inbuilt into the road itself of how things move. But I think it is going to be a real-time charging infrastructure that will really eliminate this problem, or rather reduce this problem to a larger extent for the heavier trucks. Just like how you would see trains and metros going around right now across the cities in the world, where they're currently absorbing electricity at the time that they're moving, right? And Europe is leading the way when it comes to that, where you see EV highways being built or electric highways being built. I would say over the next 10 years, you will have trucks that will have a swappable battery. And batteries will not be, see, today's another challenge is batteries have to be bigger to hold energy. And because of the kind of sheer weight or the volume of these batteries, the way they get positioned under the vehicle for the center of gravity plays a big role. Further, I believe that batteries will get smaller and more powerful itself. The battery, which currently probably takes say 50% of the weight of a vehicle, based on the kind of form factor, or 40 to 50% will actually come down to half. And once that happens, you will be able to swap it easily. You'll have better safety standards. So maybe in the next 7 to 10 years, I see swapping of batteries coming in even for trucks. So I think these are the two main things that I hope happen. We're seeing signs of both.
Yes, I 100% agree to one part of the entire conversation. UAE has never failed to prove people wrong. So it has been the history, and it has happened number of times that if they plan on something, they can do it. And the same is now starting with Saudi Arabia. So they are also going to do everything possible to start like being the leader and being the first mover for everything. So yes, the EV industry, the highways and all are going to come very soon. That is going to happen. And swapping, yes, it's a matter of time when they cover up the teething troubles which are happening with the swapping. When that is done, the size of the battery will not be the major blocker, I believe, because passenger car need an experience. But when it's a commercial vehicle, when it's a commercial car, more than experience, they need the efficiency. So if the efficiency is coming, if it's falling on the economy of scale and economy of unit of economy is working, they are okay. They are okay to do a little bit of hard work of swapping the larger battery. That will be okay with them if they're getting the efficiency, which, like you said, for sure is going to come in next 5 to 10 years horizon. So let's keep a finger crossed. Let's see how the world is saved with this EV and how the things move with this EV industry. That was Jaideep who shared his experience in the EV industry, the sprint in India and the UAE market. If you want to know anything more, if you have your insights for the EV industry, please drop comments below. Thank you for joining us.